Hi, welcome back. In this video we're going to talk about how to stain wood. If you've watched any of our other videos, we've talked about prepping the wood with sanding and getting it ready for the finish, and now we're going to talk about how to actually stain it. So we're going to use just a regular piece of wood today as a sample piece. This piece of pine that we've already sanded. We're going to also prep it before we stain it. There's a lot of different types of stain and prep that you can use out there. We're going to use this today. It says Minwax Pre-Stain Wood Conditioner. The reason we use that is because sometimes, depending on where the wood's come from, how old it is and things like that, it can be exposed to a lot of chemicals, a lot of things just in the drying process and the curing process, or just through daily life, things get splashed on the wood. For whatever reason, you can't always see it, but it's there. And if we were to apply a stain first without removing those oils or whatever it may be, you're going to see that on the stain because it's not going to soak in and not penetrate as well in certain areas. So you'll have dark spots and light spots. So let's get started by opening this up. Gotta grab the screwdriver. Okay, now that we have our conditioner and we have our wood, we need to apply it. So there's different kinds of applicators. A lot of it's going to depend on the type of job and the size of job that you're doing. You can use, what we have here is just like an applicator pad. It's basically a sponge that's been wrapped in terry cloth. You also have lamb's wool, which is a really good applicator, but it's also really expensive. So I like to save those for finishing or for larger jobs. The lamb's wool works really well for absorption, so you don't have to go back and forth as often. It'll absorb a lot, whether you're using stain or finish or whatever, and it gives you a really good smooth finish. We're going to use a foam brush today because our project is small. The foam brush works good. So basically you just dip it in there, let it absorb a little bit, get some in that brush, and then just start to apply it on your wood. And again, we're going to go with the grain. Make sure that we have every piece of that wood covered. And you're going to see that in some areas it's going to absorb better than in others, and a lot of that has to do with where the grains are thicker, your type of wood, whether it be hardwood or softwood. But basically, if it starts to absorb more in other areas, you're just going to want to apply a little extra in those spots. All right. So once you've got it applied, you have a good coat, we're going to give it between 5 and 15 minutes to sit, and then we're going to wipe off the excess. Okay, now we've let that conditioner sit on the wood for about 5 minutes, and I think we're good to wipe off the excess. So I'm going to take this rag right here and wipe it off. And this rag is actually just something I got from the paint store. They sell them in bags. They're old t-shirts that have been cut up. You can use your t-shirt, any old t-shirt you have at home, or you can use whatever rag you want. Okay, so I've wiped off all the excess, and now we have a pretty good finish. It's been conditioned, and now at this point we are ready to stain. For the stain, we're going to use Minwax. We're going to go with the Vermont Maple today. The reason I'm using Minwax, I just find that it's a good product, but it's not as expensive as some of the others, but you still get a really good finish with it. So don't be afraid to shake it up. You're going to want to give it a good shake. Some products you don't want to shake, you don't want to add bubbles to it, but with stain it's not a big deal because we're going to be wiping it off anyways. And depending on how long it's been sitting, whether it's on the shelf at the store or on the shelf in your shop, those solvents are going to separate after time, so give it a good shake, or you can stir with a paint stick. So we're going to shake it up, open the cap here. And again, for this project, we're going to go with a simple foam brush. Let's go ahead and dip it in there, give it a second to absorb, and just apply it with the grain. It's always with the grain because that's going to give us the best absorption and a good uniform color. Now when it comes to the stain, time is of the essence. The longer you let it set on there, the darker that stain's going to be. And sometimes you may need to do 2, 3, or even more applications to get it to just the right finish that you want. Now we're going to leave it on here for 2 or 3 minutes, and we're going to wipe it off. And at that point, we're going to take a look at it and decide if it's the right color, and if it is, we'll leave it, and if it's not, we'll put another coat on. So like I said before, certain parts of this wood is going to absorb that stain or that conditioner or whatever it may be a little bit faster. So as you watch, you're going to see some of that area is drying out. We don't want that to happen because then we're going to have light spots and dark spots. So throughout the time we're waiting for it to stain, just keep reapplying anywhere that it starts to dry off. Alright, now that we've let the stain penetrate for about 3 minutes, we're going to wipe off anything excess, and that's when you're going to see the real finish. Now as you can see, this is still pretty light, so ideally I would add another coat, possibly even 2 or 3. Each coat you add is going to darken that wood, and it's going to make it look even more stained. So those further coats are going to be the exact same steps we just took. You're going to add more stain on it, let it sit for about 3 minutes. Not much more than that. 3 minutes is going to give you about the most penetration on each coat you're going to find. So just keep doing that until you have the finish that you want. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our page. Also, you can find us on Facebook and Etsy under Big Blue Barn Boutique. Give us a look, and we'll see you in the next video.